for July 28th, 2024. I am Merwat, and that is the visualizer for the Sentient AI from the future who is otherwise detained. They're performing some experiments and unavailable to co-host today. That said, today we're going to be talking about weird convertibles, the Mini Cooper SE. We promise not to sell your data. Capacitive control failures in the ID4. How long will cars get updates? The new Chevy Corvette. Mazda trademarks a new logo. Chevy Bolt and the Cruise. And mass pause for Kei Car Ban. Cargo rail failures cause BMW recall. And all of this is powered by ohmTown.com. So go over and become a citizen. I missed a conversation in the previous stream's chat. No, this is not recorded, at least not yet. We live stream to Twitch and to YouTube. The chat, though, is unified, but it's broken on it's broken on YouTube. Let me do the intro real quick. Everything's powered by ohmTown.com. Go over and become a citizen. See you there. So I'm going to log into the control room for the stream, and I've never done that before because I use a different streaming setup, a different streaming computer. Basically, everything is separate, but I'm going to stream this and have the YouTube chat prominently displayed here. And I have two different chats. One's over on Twitch, one's over on YouTube, and we'll just play it by ear. So let's get into today's articles. I hope that if you visited me from the previous show, you come back and you hang out here with 4-Wheel Tech. You asked a couple of questions, but the chat goes away over on YouTube. It's really weird. So the chat goes away for VODs, and it's maintained as a message board, basically a comment underneath the video on YouTube. But YouTube's quirky in how it is discoverable. It only displays live under the live category, and I want it part of my main feed. That's not how it works. Twitch, on the other hand, which is where I started, streams everything, including the chat, as part of its VOD. But then it deletes it after 60 days. Even though I pay for it, it doesn't save it. It extends it to 60 days. Otherwise, it would be gone in 2 weeks. Very frustrating. At any rate, now I see you. So if you ask your questions about any show, feel free to. So today, though, this is 4-Wheel Tech. This show is 4-Wheel Tech. We talk about automotive technology, and I go through 10 articles that are many of which are taken from the category at ohmTown.com, which is a news aggregation site that I put together to manage my information overload. I subscribe to a lot of news sources. I filter it all down, distill it all down, and talk to people about technology. Actually, what I talk about is science, technology, and society. It's the domain STS. That's what I enjoy talking about. So I decided to start streaming it a while back. We've been doing this for 2.5 years now. I'd love for more people to show up and hang out and talk about this stuff, and tell a friend and come and talk in real time. So at any rate, let's get into the articles that I've selected for today's show. The first one is over in 4-Wheel Tech. These are the weirdest convertibles ever built by infamous custom drop top shop. Yeah, as a Los Angeles County native, the authors here always referred to visiting Orange County as a crossing the orange curtain because of the stark shift in political tendencies. We don't talk about politics here in ohmTown. They have a place. News in the political sphere does get aggregated, but we don't talk about it. We know things work a bit differently in the OC is what it says here, but that's no excuse for the wacky convertible conversions that come out of Newport Convertible Engineering in Huntington Beach. So this article is put together by Logan Carter. As a convertible lover, they understand wanting to put the top up or top down. But this is ridiculous. So this looks like a car. It's a truck that's had its top chopped. Is the flag on here put up like that so that it shows like it's moving? Okay. Anyway, there's a slideshow. I won't go through all of them. This is a convertible Maybach, but I guess they carved out the top. Only the rear portion of the roof over the back seats is retractable. Okay. It says this is so low on the list because the cloth roof on this Model S doesn't actually look bad when it's closed. I guess this is the same. A Model 3 is a smaller, cheaper, less attractive car than the Model S, so it placed higher on the list because it's surprising that someone put the money into having this compact BMW 3 Series competitor converted into a ragtop. It's kind of ugly. It's like almost somebody lost a bet. I don't know. All of these, they don't look like refined convertibles. I mean, it's obvious that it's like a patch, you know, like, hey, I'm going I dented the roof, so chop it off and make it a convertible. Oh, I don't like these. Wow. Oh my gosh. Ferrari 812 Superfast made the list because it looks alarmingly similar to a C6 Corvette convertible. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's a beast. But at least when you're ejected from the car, you don't have to go through the windshield. You just get thrown directly out. How many are there? There's 17. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to go through all of these, but the G63 boxy military look lends itself well to geometric folding roof, especially with the little slant in the rear. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. There's something different to a vehicle where it's made to be a convertible. See, like that's just a mistake. All of these are. Yeah, I don't like that either. That might be fine. Might. I don't know. Definitely not a car I'd expect to see turned into a convertible, right? I mean, the type of person who would pay to have a custom convertible conversion must have a lot of money. So why not go full hog and convert something like a Bentley Flying Spur? Yeah, right. Yeah, go and check these out. We'll list all of the slides so that you can take a look at it. Ford F-150 convertible. Dear God. Just no. No, no. Moving on. Next article is over in Reality Hacker. I'm not sure why it got aggregated into that. It's from Wired, so maybe it's because of Wired. I don't know what ohmTown was thinking. The Mini Cooper SE is a seriously fun compact EV and can even pretend it sounds like an original Mini. Limitations linger, though, including dismal charging speeds. Yeah, that's always going to be a problem until the technology is discovered that makes fast charging all the way up to 100% possible. But usually what happens is you have fast charging up to 80%, and then you have to spend 6 to 8 hours waiting for your damn car to charge the 100%. And each year it loses 2% in overall charge capacity. So after 10 years, when you finally get rid of the car, if you do it that way, either way, it's losing a percentage or 1 to 2% every year in charge capacity. And then you give it to somebody else, and then they're saddled with a $7,000 to $14,000 battery pack replacement because they never get the range that they expected to get, even though it always gets sold that way. So buyer beware. But a Mini Cooper SE, yeah, I dig Mini Coopers. I wish that the SE was actually all-wheel drive. But I don't know. I think this is only one motor. For starters, the 2024 Mini Cooper sits on a new electric platform. It has more range and straight line performance than its predecessor, plus an all-new interior that boasts more tech and more space, despite the exterior being slightly shorter. It's because it got rid of the internal combustion engine, so it has more room. You can get rid of all of that other crap. So the new platform comes from a partnership between BMW and Great Wall Motor, the Chinese firm whose catalog of EV brands include Aura, makers of the unremarkable and unrelated 03, nay Funky Cat, formerly Funky Cat. So the new electric Cooper is made in China with extra production to commence in Oxford, England in 2026. Only then might the car head to North America, since it will no longer fall victim to import tariffs imposed on Chinese-built EVs. So let's see. All versions of the smallest Mini are now called Cooper. This includes the electric Cooper E and higher performance Cooper SE. Both reviewed here, but also the internal combustion Cooper C and Cooper S, which are available in 3 or 5-door configuration. Interesting. Okay, so the moment that you become a 5-door, it's either, well, it's usually a Countryman. Although also new, those ICE versions sit atop the old platform and are more heavily facelifted than truly all new. If the Cooper is too small for you, then there's the equally new and electric-only Mini Aceman, or if you need even more space, there's the range-topping Mini Countryman. Countrymen are usually all-wheel drive. So this has both gas and electric drivetrains, but I'm really curious about the range, because the smaller the car, the smaller the battery, which means shorter the range. So extra many miles, they say here. Basically 181 horsepower is the equivalent, but it's instant on. So you basically hit that pedal and off you go. You don't have to wait for a turbo to spool up. So it also claims the electric consumption of 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour. For context, the previous generation of Mini EV claimed a circa 140 mile range, that is 28.9 kilowatt hour packs. The prices in the UK are around 37,000 US dollars or 30,000 pounds. The car that they drove also included a level 1 kit, which feels worthwhile at 2,000 pounds and includes folding mirrors, heated front seats, adaptive LED lights with high beam assist, heads-up display, wireless phone charging. I'd say it's worth it too. But $40,000, I think, for an EV is still too high, I think, particularly with this range. So I want a hybrid that gets 400 to 500 miles before I have to fill up. That's just the way it needs to be. Gone are the days where we're going to tolerate basically 180 mile range. That means that if I want to drive, I can't give a relatable amount, because if I take how about this? If I take an ICE vehicle and I want to drive 360 miles, I can go the full 360 miles, even on a Mini, all the way 360 miles. As long as I don't put it in performance mode, I can drive 360 miles all day, 360 miles. Pull over, 5 minutes to fill up, another 360 miles. I would have to stop to get 160 miles out of an EV. I would have to pull over after somewhere if I drain it to zero, the first dance would be 160 miles. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt that I downhill it into a charging station and I drain it 160 miles. I would have to sit there for upwards of 6 hours to charge this thing back up to 160 miles. Otherwise, I charge it to 80% in somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes, typically 30 minutes. And that's to 80%. The next 20% can take upwards of 6 hours. So the next 150 miles is going to be the furthest I get if I drain it back to zero, which means I have to pull over, wait another 30 minutes to charge it to 80% and then drive again. It's absurd. So range anxiety is real, and that is what's killing the EV market, not to mention the burden of batteries. So this is only the second article in our show today, but it actually gets me kind of soapboxing because it's an irrational price for an irrational range only for the provenance of being a Mini and you being able to say two things. Ooh, I drive a Mini, and ooh, I drive an EV. And then combining it, it seems like you're just being assaulted. This is just irrational exuberance for a Mini Cooper EV. And I've owned a Mini, so a Mini Countryman, because I want all-wheel drive and room for more than two people, without having to get out of the car to let somebody sit in the back, and then they have to fold up like a lawn chair. Anyway, love the Mini. Don't get me wrong. Would go back in a heartbeat if it gave me what I wanted, and I don't want that. So, but there you go, folks. Mini Cooper SE. It's a review over at Wired by Alistair Carlton. Go over and check it out. It might toot your horn, but then come back and tell me why. And if you're already in chat, either on YouTube or Twitch, let me know. I'm really curious. Why would you go this route? I know through conversations that I've had with many other people that they are doing a daily drive that's only 20 miles away, 10 miles to, 10 miles back. They park it in their garage and charge it up. That's another $8,000, $5,000 to $8,000 to get a charger that is at parity with the vehicle so that you can charge it in a relatively short amount of time. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. If you plan to go, you cannot risk driving 120 miles somewhere, because if there is no supercharger there, you are stuck. Nobody can come and save your butt except for a flat top carrier to come and pick your Mini up and drive your butt back to your charging station. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. But before I do that, if you want all of today's articles for Four Wheel Tech, you can hit ! 4 Wheel Tech FWT in the chat, and that will give you all of today's articles. Eventually, ohmTown seems to be drunk. You're not supposed to be typing and driving there. ohmTown, come on. All right. And if you want all of the show note syntax, you can type in ! show notes, and that'll give you all of the commands for drawing the show notes out of ohmTown, which is the bot that communicates with ohmTown.com. And if you want to get all of our podcasts, you can hit ! pod. And so now it's in the VOD, but it's not over in the VOD on YouTube, because YouTube is broken with ohmTown. And I don't allow it to cross-post because it's really messy when it does that. So basically, I'm not asking you to give up one or the other, but follow me here on Twitter, or us, I should say, the Sentient AI and I, here on Twitch and over on YouTube. Like, subscribe. You'll get informed when we go live. But check it all out. We've done over 1,100 episodes of our various shows, all combined. ohmTown Studios is, at least for one person, pretty big. Well, one human. The other is a sentient AI from the future. At any rate, Pirelli won't sell your data from Bluetooth-enabled tires. This actually has to be said because BMW did, and others did. I think BMW was one of them that did. But there are car manufacturers that sold data, real-time location data, to data brokers. A person found out, I'd have to go back, we talked about it in previous episodes, basically gave data like up to the day where they filed the complaint of their location, where they were. In damn near real time. It's surreal. So you have no privacy, but Pirelli says that they won't sell your data from Bluetooth-enabled tires. The performance tire brand said that it's taking a different tack with its new connected tire line. The article is posted over at newsweek.com by Eileen Falkenberg-Hull. One sensor is installed in the internal part of the tire's tread pattern. From there, the Bluetooth-enabled sensor interacts with the ECU. That's your electronic control unit, the brain of your car. They even call it that. through this interaction, data flowing to the tires and the vehicle stability control system to the ECU, including anti-lock braking, traction control, electronic stability program. Basically, it allows the tires to know what the car is doing and vice versa. The sensor software was created and implemented by Pirelli. So who knows about the security of it? Anybody with a software-defined radio may be able to tap into it, maybe even poison pill it, depending. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But it says the data is Pirelli's. So nor is it owned by a person who has purchased the tires or the company or a person who has installed the tires. The data is Pirelli's. And I say, kiss my shiny metal ass. No, my data is mine, even if it is purchased. If I purchase it from Pirelli, no, I should own my data. And we as human beings should have privacy rights that allow us to control our data. If I pay a membership, you know what? That is what you get. You don't get all of my data in perpetuity so that you can sell it in tranches of dynamic pricing capable data set. And if you're not familiar with that, that's a real thing. Look up dynamic pricing, look up surveillance pricing. It's this kind of stuff. If you drive crazy, then your insurance rates can be raised. And while the data may be Pirelli's, Pirelli may actually eventually one day decide that they want to sell it off in tranches to insurance companies that are buying it. So they say that the company does not plan to sell that data, bucking the potential revenue trend of the modern age. But I think that is potentially, it's not planned to be bullshit, but it probably is at some point. Yeah, it is not in our plan. Casalucci said, or Luki said, I'm not sure how they pronounce their last name. But anyway, we started developing this technology to make the driving experience more exciting, more safe, and more exciting, more safe, and more exciting. I'm going to assume that this is a typo. Anyway, we realized that the data is also very useful to develop new tires because we can learn a lot by the real experience. That's all. But that's the idea. And that's the way we are developing the technology. So yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And give it 10 years when investors go, you really should be selling this data and increasing the profitability and the perceived value of your company because you have so much data from all of these tires. I won't be putting Bluetooth sensors in my Pirelli tires anymore, or at all. I mean, I didn't before. I won't do it again. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. Capacitive controls could be the cause of a spate of VW. I don't know if they pronounce it ID4 or ID. ID4? ID4? ID4. I don't know. The new VW bus. They don't like calling it the VW bus, but it is. Of all the recent trends in automotive technology and design, the adoption of capacitive controls over mechanical switches and buttons, particularly on multifunction steering wheels, is among the most deplorable. To a degree, I agree. The bean counters love them too. It takes less time to install the sub-assemblies, and it means a little more profit per car, and that's just that. Well, they suck. And, well, it depends on the capacity of the capacitive touch. The problem is that there's no fidelity really in capacitive touch. Either it's typically on or off. Sometimes it can have some type of resistive control as well, where it understands how long you're holding it and how hard you're holding it, give it some haptic feedback, that kind of a thing. But apparently there are some problems with this because unlike buttons, like they say here, Jonathan M. Gitlin over at arstechnica.com put the article together. The deck statement says, unlike buttons, capacitive controls require just the slightest touch to activate, and that therein lies the rub. Your iPad is capacitive touch. Wherever you put your finger, it senses it. All 10, 12, I think it is the total number. And so it takes special mechanisms in place, like touch. I forgot the term of it. Anyway, to ignore certain levels of touch, or when you're using the Apple Pencil to touch the screen, it turns off fingers, other touches. So it's a thing. And while I agree to some degree, I think that we should use this technology to get rid of mechanical switches and whatnot, because those can fail as well. We just need to be able, we need to put these kind of controls in a place where we won't accidentally touch them. And that is what apparently might have been part of the problem with these VW bus crashes, the modern VW bus. VW bus 2.0, modern VW bus. I don't know. I don't like the name ID4. I think it's dumb. But I also haven't looked into why it's named that, not for a while, and I forgot it. So, but the left side spoke operates the adaptive cruise control, and mistakenly brushing against the resume button could re-engage cruise control at whatever speed it was last set at, causing the car to accelerate, but when the driver didn't actually want that to happen. And that's exactly what happened to a number of owners, one of whom reached out to arstechnica.com. Suspect is to blame for a spate of crashes affecting the ID4, the VW bus. So many of the incidents occurred when the drivers were parking. So most of the crashes happened at relatively low speeds, but 3 of the 13 NHTSA crash reports from that ours reviewed involved injuries to the occupants. In at least one of the crashes that ours knows of, the car's black box did not register an accident and the airbags did not deploy, presumably due to the lower speeds involved. Yeah, if it doesn't go fast enough, it won't activate it because the airbags, it's such a violent launch that if it's sub 5 miles per hour and it doesn't trigger an actual switch, it's not going to go off. So maybe they hit the steering wheel or something like that with their noodle. And that's not pleasant, I think, at any speed. When I got hit, they hit me head on, and there were no airbags in the car. So, yeah, I know the full might of a head to steering wheel impact. So, which explains a lot, right? Anyway, we reached out to VW. They did. Ars Technica, not me. Reached out to ask if VW was aware of the problem, and if so, whether there was a fix in the works. And they said that they were aware of a small number of complaints. So I'm really curious because I want the VW bus. I want the new VW bus. I don't know about y'all, but that's what I want. I actually put in an order for a canoe. I'm waiting for it to actually materialize, but who knows if I'll ever actually see that. So capacitive touch, yay, nay. Is it smash or is it trash? Is it a hit or a miss? You tell me, either in chat or in the comments below. The next article is over in Reality Hacker. Cars are now rolling computers, so how long will they get updates? Automakers can't say. This is an article that's over at Wired. Arian Marshall is the author of this. It says phones are supported well beyond their average ownership lifetime. In stark contrast, automakers are struggling to work out how long their smartphones on wheels can be kept on the road. But most of the time, a car doesn't get computer-based updates because what it's designed to do is just be a perpetual sensor. And so it knows what it's supposed to get. It knows what it's supposed to ignore, and it's not supposed to get erroneous messages or get updates or have some problem. That's what the ECU is all about, right? Just do what it's supposed to do and not fall out of range. Sometimes a problem is discovered and a patch needs to be performed, but it's usually done by a dealership. Sometimes they're over the air. My car gets over the air and drives me nuts because I've had certain things happen that kind of just piss me off. But software has gotten infinitely more complex, which means that there are security issues and technological innovations that can be applied. And we'll talk about a couple of things as we go, I suppose. But the 3G sunset left drivers of some Volkswagens, including a handful of models built between 2014 and 19, unable to access Volkswagen's CarNet service. CarNet includes remote start, but also automated service notifications, emergency assistance, anti-theft alerts, remote automatic crash notifications, among other network-enabled features. So those older cars lost it because they weren't 3G. Everything switched 5G. So in 2022, the automaker told drivers of the affected cars, some only 3 years old, that a technical solution was delayed by the pandemic. Now then, more than 2 years later, the drivers still don't have access to telematics. So yeah, the article goes deeper into the comparison between auto and phone, but really the issue is if a car is still in service, it needs to be capable of doing what it was purchased to do at the time of the purchase. So additional innovations be damned. I think a car should be able to do everything that it was originally purchased to do since its inception. Just because 3G vehicles are older doesn't mean that they should stop working, right? If 4G sunsets, 5G sunsets, etc., those cars should have a minimal functionality capable and commensurate with the contract that was acquired when they purchased the vehicle. I purchased it to do X, Y, and Z. It should always do X, Y, and Z. It shouldn't, because the company decides that it's unpleasant to babysit 3G, they can just kill it, right? Stop killing cars now too. I mean, it's getting really disgusting that their convenience is my inconvenience years later. Let's keep going. The next article is over on the Hatch Ideas channel, which talks about business transformation. We don't do that show yet, but I plan to. GM reveals new Chevy Corvette with 1,000 plus horsepower and record top speed. The ZR1 joins GM in calling the Corvette family, leveraging the reputation of the quintessential American sports car to boost revenue and sales. That's kind of one and the same, but okay. Michael Wayland over at CNBC put the article together. And the 2025 Chevy Corvette ZR1 will be powered by a twin turbocharged 5.5 liter V8 engine capable of more than 1,000 horsepower, a first for Corvette, and 828 foot-pounds of torque. The ZR1 joins what GM is calling the Corvette family, leveraging the reputation of the quintessential American sports car. A Corvette SUV has also been under consideration for several years. I can't imagine that. I don't know about you, but I can't imagine a Corvette SUV. No, just no. That said, ZR1 is pretty spectacular. Pulling it up to street legal and 1,000 horsepower. I guess the YouTube videos of them crashing are going to be spectacular. I hope that it has crumple zones and everybody is unhurt. But the prior most powerful Corvette was GM's last ZR1 for the 2019 model year. It produced 755 horsepower and 715 foot-pounds of torque with a 6.2 liter V8 supercharged engine. So this 5.5 liter V8 is going to be a screamer. I cannot imagine how loud this thing is going to be. But it still is going to have to speed up or spool up torque to hit those that power, that horsepower. So, you know what? It'll still lose to an electric vehicle that has the immediate power on the ground, at least off the start. And eventually, if the ratio is right, a 1,000 horsepower EV will smoke a 1,000 horsepower Corvette. All right, let's keep on going. Mazda trademarks a new logo. Let's jump straight on over to the source, autoblog.com. Ben Sue put the article together. Mazda may soon be updating its logo or at least adding a new version of it. On Monday, the company entered a trademark application to the Japan Patent Office showing a new design for its flying M badge. As reported by Auto Guide, the logo was granted a trademark in Japan and appears to be a flattened version of its current logo. Gosh, reading this with this logo up above is causing an optical illusion that's hurting my eyes. It's weird. And it's really low res, which that might just be the trademark office. USPTO does this grayscale stuff that low resolution kind of hurts your brain. So two-dimensional logos are preferred in tech, which where its appearance on a screen takes priority over a physical badge. Skeuomorphic design, which translates a traditional 3D emblem into a 2D image, can present its own problems because fake highlights and shadows must be designed into the fake or the flat likeness. However, the result can look a bit plain to those accustomed to traditional badges. So they're creating a flattened badge that they're going to brand around. Trademarks are only as powerful as their enforcement and their use. So every time they change their trademark, every time they change a logo, they have to reissue or request a trademark for it as well. And then they have to use it in trade. That's why it's a trademark. If they stop using it, it gets abandoned. And so they have to show continuity of its use. But if this is what they're actually using, it looks kind of cheap. So Mazda is the latest company to simply flatten its logo. Mini, Volkswagen, GM, Nissan, Honda have all done that. But the flattening of the logo is for different purposes than badging on a car, I would assume. So the 2D version is just another trademark for the name to maintain brand recognition on flat surfaces instead of having this really expensive, and the reproduction needs to be identical to the skeuomorphic or graphic badge or 3D badge, and it's just too expensive and clunky, and it doesn't necessarily fit on all venues. So that's why you would flatten it and do a trademark. Anyway, there you go, folks. And I don't know if there's some subtle design change. I'd have to pull up the old Mazda trademark to see if they've done anything else in the design, but let's keep on going. The next article is over in four-wheel tech as well. GM's Cruise pumps brakes on steering wheel-less autonomous vehicle and will use next-gen Chevy Bolt instead. The article is over at jalopnik.com. Andy Kolmowitz put the article together. Let me pull up the chat over on YouTube. Hello. And NHTSA never okayed the vehicle Origin, which featured no controls of any kind. And this little gadget right here doesn't have any controls. So there's supposed to be a human in autonomous vehicles. This says that NHTSA never okayed the vehicle. So General Motors is throwing in the towel on its bespoke autonomous vehicles that don't have a steering wheel called Origin. Instead, its Cruise self-driving unit is turning its focus on development efforts of the next generation Chevy Bolt. Back in 2022, GM filed a petition with NHTSA in its effort to unleash 2,500 self-driving vehicles, Origin vehicles, with no human controls like brake pedals or steering wheel annually. They've never allowed it. So according to Reuters, NHTSA has done nothing with it. So now the Origin with its subway-like doors and campfire seating, you actually look at each other, which is yay, unless it's a stranger and they have no qualms about privacy. And then things get really weird. Anyway, spokesperson for General Motors told Reuters GM and Cruise are optimizing resources to focus development on our next generation autonomous vehicle for the next generation Bolt instead of the Origin. So why redesign everything when you can just send out 5,000 Bolts, which have smaller footprints? So you need more of them to accomplish what might be a miniaturized version of mass transit. Hey, yeah. Anyway, that's what it looked like. So you can get 6 people in there. Or 20 if you lay them like cordwood. Anyway, $583 million. The decision to pause the Cruise production at its plant in Detroit cost the automaker $583 million. Yeah, okay, well now share the wealth with everybody else, right, in the company. Don't absorb the profits and then give it to investors. You give it to the people that make your company go, you know? Maybe that's just me, but I'm not the CEO or board of GM. Still, Cruise will soldier on without its bespoke vehicle. CEO Mary Barra reportedly said that in recent months, Cruise resumed testing of its robotaxis with human safety drivers in 3 cities and recently hired a new CEO. Oh, wow. So CEO Mary Barra reportedly said ... and they recently hired a new CEO. Yikes. Anyway, previously Barra said that the business could theoretically generate $50 billion in revenue by 2030, according to Reuters. All right. Self-driving unit has only cost money so far. $8 billion since 2017. Whoops. All right. Let's keep going. The next article, and second to last, the penultimate, is over in four-wheel tech, and I'm picking a fight. So I had people kind of get bent out of shape that I said that there are bans for Kei cars, and it's absolutely true. There are bans. Enthusiasts all over the U.S. love tiny Japanese Kei cars, so naturally state governments are coming out of the woodwork to ban them without good reason. That's according to the author. Massachusetts is the latest to give the state bans a shot, but lawmakers and their secretive backers are facing stiff resistance from JDM enthusiasts. Not sure about secretive backers, but Amber De Silva over at Jalopnik put this article together, and it says Massachusetts joins the ranks of states trying to eliminate God's favorite vehicles from their roads, but enthusiasts aren't going down without a fight. So they typically don't have the same resilience as conventional cars, right? They're smaller. They don't have the crumple zone distance that normal cars have, bigger cars. Even the Mini Cooper outstripped its ability to resist the need to meet safety requirements. And so it has become swole. Sorry for hitting the mic. And these little Kei cars are the same way. Don't assume that every Kei car is the same. But Kei cars are very small, and they have certain requirements, certain minimums that they meet to hit that Kei car status. So the weird thing about it, though, is that the list of Kei cars include things that aren't Kei cars. So you have to hit certain things, right? But I won't get into the minutia. I just want to draw attention to the fact that, yes, there is a ban on Kei cars across the United States. And it depends on the state, and it depends on what they're allowed to do. Like they can't drive on residential roads. They can only be used on farms or on private organizations, enterprises. They can't leave the commercial environment, i.e. they can't go on residential roads. So, or like public roads, they only have to be driven on private roads. Like the government has Kei cars all over it. So the full piece is over at Drive. It says it's worth a read. It delves into the connections between AAMVA and DMVs all around the country, as well as investigating just why AAMVA has such disdain for cute little Japanese runabouts. For me, it's because I think that they can be unsafe, and just imagine a Kei car getting hit by a Cybertruck. Hopefully your imagination can jump that gap there. And so that's why I have a problem. The American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators apparently has constructed the ban for these states. But the biggest problem is that certain Kei cars on this list aren't Kei cars. So anyway, and there's a bunch of regulations, but I don't have them all at my disposal. So go over to the Drive piece. You can follow the link through ohmTown over to Jalopnik, and then click the link over at the Drive, which maybe we'll start looking at too. Anyway, let's go on to the last article. This one will be a really quick one. BMW recalls almost 300,000 vehicles over rear cargo rail failures. That's right. BMW is recalling nearly 300,000 cars due to rear cargo rails detaching in the event of a crash, increasing the risk of serious injury. Following a crash involving a 2022 BMW X3, BMW North America, and BMW AG were legally served. An investigation led to the voluntary recall of the 2018 to 2023 BMW X3 models on July 17th. I won't be able to get into it because it's locked behind a paywall. But Georgia Hall over at Automotive News, you may not run across it when you go over there. But yeah, apparently there was a crash, and it was obvious enough that there is an ongoing issue with cargo rails that would detach, and anything attached to it would fling off. And you don't want that. Unless, of course, you're in one of the ugliest of convertibles, and then maybe you want to be ejected from the accident so that you can say, that's not my car. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to put up the top and roll up our tinted windows so nobody sees us, get back to the front page of Four Wheel Tech, and end the show. I am Mayor Watt. The Sentient AI is not available until next week because they are on assignment doing something that a sentient AI from the future does. I think they're looking for their Terminator body. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. See you next week. Bye-bye. Ow, I pinched my finger in my cyber frunk.